Everybody, have you ever gone into Burger King to get a burger and you can't get a burger? Did you say, oof, there's a shortage of burgers? Or have you ever thought about the teacher who wanted to teach and because they're hearing all this negative about education, they're choosing not to teach? Or am I talking to you, administrator or former teacher who just said, I got enough? Well, you know, it's raining on our children, and it's raining in the fact that we're saying there's no teacher shortage. Well, I want you to consider Noah and the ark. When Noah was told to go and build the ark, it was like years and years in advance, to prepare to save the righteous. Well, I want you to know that if we don't do something, then it's going to be raining on our children. And, for those of you who feel me, I feel your disappointment as well. And I'm saying that, we're not going to accept this. And we're not going to let our children drown. And what we're going to have to do is to learn how to retain our teachers, learn how to recruit our teachers. And we're going to embrace the change. Yeah, it's been a tough 3 years. But we're going to have to embrace this change because, this change that came about in the past 3 years, when you think about it, it's a lot of good that came out of it because there were some things that we were doing in education that just was not good for children. And, we can go into on and on and on the things that happened, but you think about our education system was kind of teetering and tottering, and there's some things that we needed to do to replace what was not working. My name is Barbara Polk. I am the former principal of an underperforming school that was rated one of the lowest in the state of Texas, and we were able to get that school turned around within a year's time. But that year's time of getting that school turned around was fraught with frustration. So you say, oh, well, you don't know about what's happening now. That could have been good back then. But I want to tell you that the things that we are experiencing now, we have to make sure we have some principles in place. The principle of what goes up must come down. I don't care how good you are, what day of the week it is, what year it is. If you stand on top of a building and you lean over and your body weight tips you over, you're going down. It's just a principle that leads you. So what I want to talk about is there is no teacher shortage. And what I'm saying is that there are lots of teachers out there. They just have made the choice to move on because we need to replace some things in our system. And so many of you have done such a good job, especially this third year of reaching your goals. And you're at a place where you're going to have to sustain those goals. And for those of you who didn't reach your goals, you're at a place now where you're making that change. You're doing those replacements. So what I want you to consider is, instead of saying there's a shortage of teachers, let's say, how can we retain teachers? How can we attract teachers despite all of the mandates that we have? I know you're confronted with challenges on a daily basis. So what, we do here today is going to look at answers and strategies to overcome those barriers that you face so that you can transform your school into a hallelujah success story. So if you're ready, let me tell you one of the first things that I believe there's a shortage of, because I said there's not a shortage of teachers. I believe in this replacement thinking that there is a shortage. There's a shortage of multidimensional thinking, the way we meet the needs of the children, the non traditional ways that we meet children, things that we weren't taught when we went to graduate school. Things like what we found. Let's get rid of ISS. You say what? Get rid of ISS? Well, that's just an example. So that means that you're going to have to do some multidimensional thinking, some thinking outside of the box, traditionally outside of the box. So what do you do when you get rid of ISS? Well, you have to come up with something else. You have students who are placed in a unit with someone standing over them to get their assignment. It's usually a paraprofessional who doesn't know the content, and the children are in there not getting taught the standards. So do something different, something multidimensional, something where you're not violating the law, something that you know that these students need. And it's not ISS. It has something to do with instruction. It has something to do with where those children are. There are ways and things that you can do besides that old broken system of let's just get rid of them, move them away from us so that we can teach those people who want to learn. Let's look at multidimensional thinking, and the example was let's get rid of ISS. The second thing that I believe is there's a shortage of a winning culture. So you say culture. I hear culture over and over. What is culture? Culture is your environment. Culture is when children walk into the building in the morning and you're a middle schooler or you're a high schooler, teacher or administrator, and you hear good morning. Whether they respond back to you or not, you're establishing a culture. You're establishing an environment where students walk in, teachers walk in every day, knowing this is the way we do things here. They walk in knowing that we're not going to accept failure as an option. And when you are not accepting failure as an option, that means that you're not accepting failure as an option from students. You're not accepting failure as an option from teachers, and you're certainly not expecting failure from principals. So when you have a winning culture, you are going to celebrate those accomplishments of the students. And I'm not talking about a rah-rah celebration. I'm talking about we worked hard, we accomplished this, let's celebrate this in little chunks. We don't have to wait, 6 weeks. We don't have to wait 3 weeks. We can decide when we're going to celebrate. We can set our time to celebrate as a predetermined space. So that's what we have a shortage of. That's the kind of fixing that we're going to have to do so that we will not continue to hear there's a shortage of teachers. So number one, I said that I believe that we need to do multidimensional and creative ways to do things. I believe that. And that is a way to retain teachers. That is a way to recruit teachers. And the second thing I said that I believe there's a shortage of, and that's a winning culture. If you go into a building where children are cursed at and yelled at, and I'm talking about, our children who are in schools of color. I'm talking about our rural children. I'm talking about our low income children. We have to establish that winning culture. I don't care what the world says about the children in our community. Once we create a culture, a haven for a place for them to go to feel respected, for teachers to feel respected, then we will start to see that we will create a winning culture along with the celebration of the accomplishments of the children, and not just a rah rah with pom poms going. We're celebrating you on a daily basis. And the third thing I believe that there's a shortage of, I believe there's a shortage of great teams, not just a team, great teams. So if you're the principal and you have a team, your team is not great unless they know why they exist. Why do you have a team? Do you have a vision that you want to follow? And they are there, a part of that team, so that we can get that vision accomplished. If you have a team and you say, we want all of our Algebra 1 students to meet standard, all of them, all of our Algebra 1 students, first of all, you're going to say that's crazy because they're not going to all meet standard. But you know, if that's your vision and you have a team who you have enlisted to be your team to make sure that Algebra 1 students all meet standard, then that's the reason for them to exist. But they need to know that. A great team creates a space for learning. And I'm not talking about learning from students. I'm talking about learning from each other. Because we're a mix of different personalities. Some of us like to do things quickly. Some of us like to do things a little slower. Some of us just like to just kind of sit and just let it marinate for a minute. So that team needs to learn from each other. That great team. The other thing with the team is that that team has to be able to withstand conflict. That's a great team. And conflict is good. Conflict is good when we address the issues, where we address the changes that we're having problems with, where we're not here to try to not hurt anybody's feelings, where we're in an environment where we put everything on the table, we deal with it as a team, and then once we walk out of the room, it's over. It's not to be spoken of again unless we're back around that team. That's a great team. That's what we have a shortage of. We have a shortage of great teams that trust each other. So, principals, when you are developing the people who you want to be a part of your team, you make sure that it's a team that you can trust. And let me go just one step further with the trust. I'm not talking about, oh, I believe Miss Abdullah can be trusted because if I give her assignment, she's going to do it. The trust that I'm talking about takes one further step. That trust is, if I am the principal and you are on my team and everybody around the table knows there is something that I'm doing as the principal to block progress, then I have to trust that you will let me know that you are not somebody who is just sitting around the table to be yes men and yes women. That's what a great team does. A great team trusts. They trust the people around them. They trust that if we have a team member who is always complaining, always trying to get out of an assignment, that's something that needs to be laid on the table, dealt with, and we trust that this is something that's done exactly out of caring for the team. You will not be able to get any further than what your team will allow you. And you do not want a lot of yes people around you. And a great team has a facilitator or a leader. Now, the facilitator or the leader is you, principal, or it's someone that you have assigned. Is this one of the most difficult things? Absolutely. But when I talk about there is no teacher shortage, and I believe there is a shortage of good teams, of not good teams, but great teams, then one of the most important things is for you as the facilitator, for you as the principal to share what you have. You cannot hold it all in yourself. You can't hold it in your head. We said that if we want to get things done, we got to get it out of our head. We got to put it on paper. We got to put it on the wall. We got to look at it. We got to know that's what we're doing. And you as a leader, you cannot walk around with all that stuff stuck in your head and expect your school to be a successful school. A school that, maybe last year, you made it. And now this year, you have different people and you're trying to figure out what am I going to do in order to be able to sustain that growth or sustain that recognition that we got last year. We need a great team. And I know that some of you, are feeling the frustration. You're feeling the frustration with the children. You're feeling the frustration with the students. You're feeling the frustration with the teachers. But let me tell you how to address that. And that is with a great team. With a great team. So look back, see what you have done as a team. Make sure you don't have too many people on the team, 4 to 5. And make sure you have your team set up based upon what it is that you want them to do so that they will know why they exist. You may want to assign a team that's strictly your school improvement team. And that's all they do. And when their job is done, then you thank them. But then you also will have your team of your administrators, your lead teachers. Those are your upper cabinet people. They understand what's going on. They understand your vision. They understand the mission. They understand the core values of your school. That is what I see that we have a shortage of. So I said that there is no shortage of teachers, and I say it again. There is no shortage of teachers. We have lots and lots of teachers. But the problem is that we are not retaining our teachers. We are not able to recruit our teachers because we are doing the same old thing, trying to think back what happened in our learning in graduate school. It's not going to fit. So, is there a shortage of teachers? There is no shortage of teachers. There's a shortage of retaining good teachers. And I've just talked to you about the ways that we retain our great teachers and to recruit great teachers. Let me tell you a little short story and then we're going to close. When I was originally assigned to that underperforming campus, of course we had teachers who had been there a while, and the rest of them were just revolving door teachers. They came to our school late. They had a certification. We accepted them. We put them in the best position we knew how. Within some of them, a week, some of them 3 days, some of them a month, they would start with us and they would leave. So we just kept trying to figure out just what to do. Well, after that first year where we were able to turn that school around, we knew we had something good. And we knew that we just had to add to it and to make it greater. Well, the second year, we made our target and we exceeded our target. The third year, the fourth year, the fifth year. Well, what started happening? People started sharing what we were doing on that campus. People started sharing that we were doing multi-dimensional thinking, that we were doing creative things. They started sharing how we worked our teams. They started sharing how we celebrated, how we had developed that culture. They started sharing that. And you know what happened? Teachers quit leaving. And for the teachers who did leave, they left because their family was relocating. They had a spouse that maybe needed care at home. Um, but they only left because they had to, because it was a personal thing. It's not because they wanted to. And it got to the point where the word got around. Oh, I understand it's going to be an opening over there. Oh, I understand that so and so's husband is transferred and it's going to be an opening over there. So in January, I started receiving emails saying, I understand that you may have an opening. Would you consider interviewing me? I'm at so and so school and I would love to come to your school. I would love to be considered. I've heard about your school. That is what happens when you have different ways of thinking, different ways of getting the job done, having a winning culture, and having a great team. So I know principals, ultimately, the responsibility is on you. It's your responsibility to um, get directives from central administration that just go opposite to the way you're setting your school up. And you and your team will figure out how to get central administration taken care of, as well as getting your teachers and your students taken care of and respected. I do not believe there is a shortage of teachers. I believe that we're going to have to do some things differently to retain our teachers and to recruit our teachers. So, if you want to have more discussions like this, I want you to look at the description. And if you're already not a member of Principals on the Come Up, join Principals on the Come Up. And by the way, we have a free handbook. It's a 10-page handbook on how to sustain your school success, because I know there are those of you out there who have just done a hallelujah success story with your school. And I also know there are those about you who out there who just didn't quite make it. And you're trying to figure out, how can I get this done? So make sure you do those two things. And we'll see you next time on Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. See you next time.